doing business in Africa. You can't afford to be without Africa Investor.
We believe climate change is the greatest investment opportunity of our generation. That's why the African Green Infrastructure Investment Bank, AFGIB, is investing for generational climate returns. Join Africa's Green Investment Bank and its partners for action on the just transition and emissions reduction targets in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt for an epic 2022 African COP27. The African Green Infrastructure Investment Bank, AFGIB, committing capital to a climate-safe future.
It's my distinct pleasure to call on His Excellency Dr. Ibrahim Mayaki to give us his opening keynote remarks. The floor is yours, Dr. Mayaki.
Thank you very much, Hubert. Thank you very much. Let me start by recognizing His Excellency Wankele Mene, my dear brother, Secretary General of the AFCTA Secretariat, yourself, Hubert, and Ambassador Mary Burswalik, Deputy Executive Director of the International Energy Agency, Mr. John Denton, Secretary General of the International Chamber of Commerce, and Marilam Frendo, the CEO of a Global Infrastructure Hub. Well, all the friends who are here gathered. I'm honored to grace this very important meeting of the African Green Infrastructure Investment Bank Partnerships Dialogue Series, focused on enabling institutional investor-public partnerships and scope-free allocations in support of the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is the main strategic framework that the African Union needs to implement in the next 10 years. In 2016, the Continental Business Network was established by African Union heads of states and government as a response to facilitate private sector engagement and leadership as an essential mechanism in order to implement continent-wide infrastructure projects, particularly the regional infrastructure projects under the Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa, PIDA, as you know. The CBN, currently chaired by my good friend Hubert, aims to crowd in financing and support for infrastructure projects by creating a platform for collaboration between the public and the private sectors. And I refer very frequently to the fact that many public sector officials in our continent do not have a private sector culture. So there is a cultural issue which is dealt with and tackled through this platform. CBN fundamentally focuses on the critical role that the private and public sectors need to play in de-risking infrastructure development projects in Africa. Therefore, there is great need to mobilize both African and the global institutional infrastructure investment community, including evidently African and global. Specifically, the pension and sovereign wealth funds of the G7 to mitigate the infrastructure financing gap that is currently hindering Africa's infrastructure development. Greening African supply chains and trade in support of the AFCFTA is a Pan-African real economy transition plan. It is a once-in-a-lifetime and generational opportunity for institutional investors and governments in our continent to design and share the climate and economic dividends of a greener African trade ecosystem. And this is why the Pan-African Green Infrastructure Investment Bank initiative is already playing an important global leadership role in creating new and bankable opportunities in the African green finance market, which is currently highly fragmented and needs proper coordination so that an African green finance market will become a world-class international pan-African investment platform to de-risk and mobilize the much needed global financing markets and institutional capital at a significant scale for what we call Africa's just transition. Therefore, the work of the AGIIB initiative in providing technical assistance opportunities for development partners to participate in the setup funding arrangements where their mandates support long-term domestic and international institutional capital for green infrastructure will certainly assist Africa's post-COVID-19 economic recovery. The African Green Infrastructure Investment Bank initiative clearly complements the CBN's 5% agenda. As the 5% agenda continues to gain traction, most African governments will include in their targets to ensure that they increase the allocation of African asset owners to African infrastructure from its currently low base of their assets under management to an impactful 5% of AUM. The 5% agenda is recognized by the African Presidential Infrastructure Champion Initiative, PICI, and its aim is to have the following impact. One, unlocking notable and measurable pools of needed capital to implement regional and domestic infrastructure projects. Two, broadening and deepening the currently very shallow African capital markets, whilst at the same time contributing significantly to regional integration and job creation. And both are linked. Three, promoting the development of innovative capital market products that are specific to the continent's challenges and potential in regards to infrastructure development. Four, raising the investment interest of other institutional and non-institutional financiers that so far have been hesitant to include African infrastructure projects as an asset to their investment portfolio based on specific, concrete next steps and projects suggestions. We fully support at the African Union level the African Green Infrastructure Investment Bank initiative and its eminent advisory boards whose leadership, which will also count on its wise counsel on the institutional investor track of activities, as we prepare, as Africa prepares to host COP27 in 2022 under the Egyptian presidency. The African Green Infrastructure Investment Bank initiative will surely play a prominent role in the success and participation of a global institutional investment community and the private sector at COP27. I therefore look forward to supporting, and we from the African Union side look forward to supporting the African Green Infrastructure Initiative and its partners, facilitate this engagement and support the development and advocacy around the institutional investor-public partnerships model law as its catalytic legal and regulatory framework instrument in order to de-risk and crowd in capital for African green infrastructure investments. Thank you very much, and I wish you all, and I wish us all, very good deliberations. Thank you.
We believe climate change is the greatest investment opportunity of our generation. That's why the African Green Infrastructure Investment Bank, AFGIB, is investing for generational climate returns. Join Africa's Green Investment Bank and its partners for action on the just transition and emissions reduction targets in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt for an epic 2022 African COP27. The African Green Infrastructure Investment Bank, AFGIB, committing capital to a climate-safe future.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.